Alright, solar YouTubers. This is going to be a video on Vevor. I had a viewer who posted this here, and I told him that if he has any questions, I would show him how to do it. So, this is for you, bud. Alright, so when it comes to hooking the internet up to your router and phone, the manual does tell you. I wasn't very good at it. I'm not very coming up the internet and stuff. I'm not real good. It's starting on page 32, and the EMSS logger you gotta log into the smart ESS. So that's how you hook it up, and then it just does show you how to do it. I'm really stupid at that. All right, so questions on hooking this up. All right, you see that? Okay. So you go down here, and you see your AC in. It says L and N. And then you have you gotta learn your AC, because you have a hot, a neutral, and a ground. Okay, so here in America, got cat hair. So here in America, that's what we did. Okay, so the green is ground. All right, the L should be your hot, and the N should be your neutral. N for neutral. Okay. So what I did was I just grabbed the extension cord. That's a 10-foot extension cord, but I got one right here. Something similar to this. I just grabbed the extension cord and I cut the female end off. And the female end is this end right here. Okay, all the stuff's incest, and the other end is considered. Oh, it's not my operating. It's considered a male. So the male plugs in, and the female gets plugged in too, okay? So you're gonna grab your in AC input, and what I did was I put ferrules on mine. Hold on a second, I'll show you what a ferrule is if you don't know. Hold on. These are what ferrules look like. When you cut your wire, so you stick your wire in there, and then you have this tool that goes over it and it crimps it down. Okay, so you put the middle piece in there, you crimp it down, and it makes it a square. It's going to square it off on the end. Okay, so when you stick them in there, then that will be a pretty good fit down. You don't have to do it that way. You don't have to use ferrules, but ferrules so much easier to get in there. All right, and then you AC out exactly the same way. So my AC out, that's what a ferrule looks like right there. And I also heat shrinked down there. So on the out, you just have the hot is L, and the end is neutral. We don't have a ground going out. All right. Then your solar panels, same way. Your positive in and your negative in. And all of those are, that's dirty. I'll clean that up. Sorry about that, guys. So all of that is easy. So it's not, they fit in there pretty easy. You just got to really, take your time, kind of get in there, make sure it's in there. And they screw it up and down. And you screw to the right. You screw clockwise to screw them in there. So, but basically, you just got to remember your wiring. The green is always ground for the most part. But on this one here, live here in Indiana, so here in America. So the green is ground, the black is hot, and the white is neutral. So there's a lot of videos on YouTube that do this. On the out, you just get the hot is L and the N is neutral. And I have that. So what I did on the out is the female plug. So I cut off the male Be the opposite of what I did before. Now, for the battery connections, now this took me a minute to get in there. I mean, it wasn't simple. So you put your lugs in there, your positive and negative, right? So your positives on the left, your negatives on the right. Just make sure you read your box there, and you stick them in there. And I had to start it with a magnet, or if you have a screwdriver, put a piece of magnet on the end of the screwdriver, whatever. So once you get that in there and get it started, then you're fine. But it was a little work. I gotta clean all that out. I gotta turn that off and clean it. It's dirty. So that's how you wire a Vevor up. So that was this was here for me. I just had to go and get a magnet and put the bolt on the end of the magnet, stick it down in there and screw it on one of those telescoping magnets. But if you have a screwdriver, magnetic screwdriver, or take a little magnet and put it on the end of a screwdriver, you get those right in there. And they fit right up in there, and it's bolt down easy. Like I said, the ferrules here, you don't have to do it to ferrules, but I just did. You can just twist after you cut the wire, twist it and stick it in there. But basically you just gotta learn your symbols. So basically on the extension cord, the green wire is going to be your ground, and your neutral, and your the black and white one is going to be either one of these, but that's going to be your ground. So yeah, wherever you're from, just look up your energy thing, your energy codes, your wiring and stuff to make sure, because the L means hot for some reason, and the N is neutral, and then you got your ground. And it's just simple as just putting them in the hose, and there you go. Now you don't have to plug it into the wall at all, and you don't have to use the AC at all. Just make sure that your PV is in. As you can tell, PV in, PV out. Positive on left, negative on right. Just make sure you just follow your veins there. And then your batteries, I got a 25 volt, 100 amp hour. That's how you pronounce that name. I can't pronounce it. I'm not gonna butcher it. And so I got this in parallel. So I got a positive going to the Vevor, and then the positive with a amp with the fuse going. So the positive from this battery is going to the positive of this battery, okay, and it has a fuse on it. On the other side, this positive goes straight into the Vevor. All right, and then your negatives, if you're using two of these batteries, one negative goes to that, other negative, and negative goes into your Vevor. But for the wiring, just one more time, you gotta make sure that the green is ground, the black is hot, and the white is neutral. So the L is your hot, and on your out is on your out the same thing, AC out. Make sure your black is hot and your white is neutral, and you don't have a ground. Okay, so I just got mine twisted up out of the way, and I just used a 10-foot cord. So I cut the female off, that's the male, plugs into the wall. So you cannot sell back to the grid, but you can consume the grid. And on the other end, I have the female, and then I have this. This is a 15 amp breaker in this, so it will, blow if you get past more 15 amps. You don't have to use this. You can wire it straight to whatever you're powering to that. But here I'm powering my refrigerator, And then I'm powering my computer and stuff. So that's why I have multiple. And then my internet is all on this too. Right now I'm in the UPS mode. That means that I'm not using my batteries at all. I'm using grid. It's just going through the Vevor. I'm not even using the inverter right now. It's just going straight through, bypassing the inverter, and into you know, on the way out. So now when the main grid shuts off, if the power shuts off, then it will kick into your battery mode. And then if power doesn't come on for a while, you know, and your batteries are getting low, then you just plug out into your generator. I have that right there. Plug out into your generator. You want to start your generator first, get it kind of warmed up a little bit, a few minutes, then plug out in there. And then if you got any questions about the settings, just give me a holler, just like you did today. But basically, just take your extension cord, how long you want, and make sure that these are the colors you have, or whatever colors you have on your extension cord. Make sure you find the ground, the hot, and the neutral. And the letters could be different for your area. You know, hot could be another letter, but here in Indiana, this is what this looks like. In most America too. Your standard extension cord should have 3 wires in it. You should have a green, black, and the white. And so it's just that easy. The really hard part is just get a long screwdriver, and with the ferrule it's easy. You feel it, it's in there, it gets stuck in there, and then you tighten it down till you can't really tighten no more. That's about it. Now if you don't use ferrules, make sure you twist it really good with your hands, and then make sure when you stick it in, make sure that you have no strands. When you stick it into your hole, make sure there's no strands that are, it doesn't get into the hole. Make sure everything gets into the hole you need, and then you can tighten it down. So it's I didn't know about electricity. I had to go on YouTube and I had to watch videos on YouTube. But basically that's exactly how it is. So let me get down here and show you that exactly. And so your PV in is going to be your red, and then that's your positive, and your negative is going to be a red and black with the red stripe. All depends how your solar panel is. So your red should always be positive, and the black should always be negative. But just wherever you're at, just make sure whatever color you're using, positive goes in positive and negative goes in negative. And most solar panels, most solar panels will have the MC4 connectors, and majority of the time it might be if you have MC connectors, normally that's considered a male is your positive, and that's considered a female, and that's your negative. And so I had to wire up the connections here. So when you wire these connections up, I just got me a set of, I made these myself, these connections here. You can buy them on Amazon, MC4 to whatever. So you gotta be careful. So what you gotta do is let me show you on this wire here. Okay, so when you have, hold on a second, need 2 hands. Okay, on your cable, on your MC4 connectors, so this is the negative because it's the female, and if you look on here, it's ode, but that tells you, let me see, yeah, it tells you at one time I had a negative on there. Okay, so on the negative cable, whatever color you use for negative, you want the male end. Okay, so the male end is going to fit into the female end. Okay, but on the other side of this cable is going to be female. So whatever comes off your Vevor has to be male for the negative. The positive is going to be reverse. Hold on a second, I need 2 hands for this. It's just going to be reverse what you had. So coming off the solar panel, you have your male. Okay, so you're going to need a female on the red end, and then on the other end is going to be the male. So it's just reverse. So if your solar panels don't have the MC4 connectors, then you just got to make sure whatever connection you're using for whatever color you're using, you get it. So if you're using red, that's positive, and black is negative. But you got to make sure that your connections are correct. So, 1 second. So on my Vevor, I have the positive as a female, because on your, and then I have the negative as a male. So when you hook up your cable to your solar panel, remember your solar panel should be a male for the positive. So you want to get a cable that has one end as a male, one end as a female. So therefore, when the male part off your solar panel for the positive, you can plug the female into it, and that means that the other end of your cord, the other end of the cord, the positive is going to be male. So it's going to be mirroring the other side. So the solar panel is male, and then you're going to hook the female to the male positive, and then right before it plugs into the Vevor, so that your connection's got to be, male to female, whatever kind of connection you're using. If you're using the XT60s or Anderson, whatever, you got to make sure that your connections are correct. And so I have so whatever this is going to mirror what's coming off your solar panel. Okay, so that's just got to make sure your connections are correct. That's about it. So any more questions or anything else, just let me know. It's been the same. I have to make sure I'm thorough and always repeat myself, but make sure that you that was the hardest part for me, is holding the cable in with one hand and trying to get that screw started. And I just happen to have a magnet that extends out in case you drop something down in the engine bay. So I just used that, put that in there and kind of turned it. It was strong enough to turn, to get a few turns to go, and then I slid it off and put a screwdriver. And this is a screwdriver that I have. It's a pretty long screwdriver. Since it's almost as wide as the Vevor. It slips right in there, and you can tighten it down. Or what you could do is find yourself like a little magnet, like that, like little bee magnets, and you can put it on the end of the screwdriver, make the screwdriver magnetic, and then you can just put your boat on that and then slide in and get started. It took me a few minutes to, I kept dropping the nut and all that, so it did take me a few minutes to do all this, but just take your time and it will happen. So everything is whatever color you're using, make sure you're using on the other end. So red here in America is pretty much for DC is always positive, and black is always negative. So whatever you're using as positive color, make sure you just hook that up right. And then as for the battery, I got mine just 25 volts at 200 amp hours instead of 100. I got just both of these are in parallel, so you double your amp hours. If it was in series, you double the voltage. So I hope that will help you out. Any more questions, just let me know. Sorry for the video so long. I try to be as thorough as possible. So you don't have to have an AC going in right now. You can, if you have a way, but you have to have a way to charge the batteries. This has a built-in charger, so just go get yourself a 10-20 foot cord, whatever you think you need, and cut the female end off, because the male plugs into the wall or your generator, And then when you get the other cord, you want to cut the male off, because your female is going to be connected to whatever you use, and these are always your power strips, your power supplies are always male. So just kind of think that through a little bit. If you screw up, oh well, and just now you know, and then you go and do it again. But any more questions? But it's pretty. I have no electrical skills at all. I just went on YouTube. I learned it real quick, what the color differences mean, what the color means, and I hooked it up, and I've had no issues with it. So hope this helps. Any more questions? Just leave a comment, and good luck. It's a great. I've had no issues with the unit. It's been great for me. I use it every day. I've had no issues with it, and they're not paid sponsor or nothing. They don't even know I exist. I try to do a affiliate program with them, but I'm a nobody. But I am pretty impressed with a basic introduction to all-in-ones, and it's been great so far. So I hope you have the success that I have, and I will talk to you later.